Hey, I'm Dee. I'm going to do a collective reading for us today on the topic of how can you believe more in yourself. If you enjoy tarot content, be sure to subscribe. You never know when I'm going to post a collective reading or pick a card. So let's get into it. We all face the issue of not believing in ourselves, and it is one of the biggest things that holds us back. It's very foundational. So, Spirit, if you would, please answer our question. How can we believe in ourselves? How can we believe more in ourselves? All right, okay. All right, so the first impression I'm getting right off the bat is that a lot of what happens in our heads stays in our heads. We do a lot of thinking and cycling, and it becomes a feedback loop of fear. It's something that we habitually do, and maybe you don't even notice when you go through these cycles. You could live through 1,000 what-ifs in 5 minutes and then get distracted by something else and totally forget that's what you did. But that makes an impact on you. Habits create things, whether it's inside you or on the outside. Habits add to the creation of things. So we habitually refer back to fear as our source of authority. If we have an idea, if we're like, whoa, wouldn't that be really cool? Number one, we go right back to fear. What if it fails? What if people think it's dumb? What if I waste my time? We go right back to those fears and we let them answer our questions. But we have this flashcard. We've all had moments of creative insights, eureka moments where we don't even know where it came from. Or maybe it's something we felt bubbling up inside this whole time, but we couldn't put a name to. But suddenly it comes out. And these are the moments that it feels like we need to foster. So how do we get there? Let's pull some tarot cards. First of all, we're going to look at share, because that's not easy. It's very, very easy to be afraid of sharing, because we're afraid of judgment, we're afraid of ridicule, we're afraid of our idea falling flat. And somehow we've wired ourselves, we've habitually, because belief is a habit of thought. So we habitually believe that if we fail, that means we suck. We are less worthy. Anyway, I digress. Let's go back to share. So, a little bit of advice, Spirit, on how can we start sharing ourselves and protect ourselves at the same time. Oh, okay. 5 of Swords, the Lovers, and the 2 of Wands. So, choosing our battles is very important. It helps to have a go-to person for validation of your ideas. Someone who you know will always be on your side, who always sees the beauty in what you do. It's not always possible for us to have this person. I will say, though, it is always possible to manifest this person into our lives. So if that's something you don't have, then work on bringing it in and magnetize that to yourself. Imagine how wonderful it would be to just have one person who is always at your side, who always has your back, who will always have something good to say to you. If you just have that one person, even if it has to be you right now for yourself, just that one person is all you need. Choose your battles. Impress that one person and you can do anything. You can share yourself with the world because you don't care what the world thinks. You already got your validation. So I do suggest that if you don't have this person in your life, then try to become that person. And it really is a decision. It's a decision to have your own back. It's a decision to put perfectionism aside and to say, hey, I did that. I did that, and yesterday it wasn't there. It didn't exist. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, you're being encouraged to share what you make what you have, what you think, what you love, especially focus on sharing what you love, because the energy of love is unmistakable. Anyone with love in their heart will recognize it and respond well to it, no matter what it is. So let's look at habits, because we know we have this habit of returning back to fear as our authority. So what can we do with that habit? What can we do? What can we do with these habits? Okay. Oh. So we have the Hanged One, Five of Cups, Judgment, and Death in reverse. So these habits will be a tricky one to shed. That's why the Hanged One came out right away. It's like, Spirit's like, you know what? It's okay. It's not going to be resolved right away. These habits of listening to your fears have built up over time, so it only makes sense that it will take more time to bring them back down. The Death in Reverse card, they're very unwilling to shift these habits of yours because they are here to protect you. They are here to protect you, and they are not convinced that anything else can protect you besides a healthy or unhealthy dose of fear. So this is where an awakening is called for. An aha moment where you realize that your fears, like, think back into your life. How often do you think your fears saved you? There's probably been a number of times, but how many fear moments have you had that have held you back from doing what you want to do? Odds are that one outweighs the other. There is a loss here, a massive loss, for listening solely to fear. And it takes time to understand this on a cellular, an energetic level. It takes time for this kind of message to settle in. So be gentle with yourself. Try to have these aha moments on a regular basis, because they come and go. But you always come back to them. That's when you know that is a revelation. So we can look at fear a little bit. Let's look at what you're actually fearing. Spirit, if you could, what do we fear about believing in ourselves? Of course. What do we fear about believing in ourselves? That's interesting. So, the Hierophant, somehow, well, we're born into this world as helpless little babies, and we have to rely on the authority of everyone else around us to tell us how to stay safe, how to take care of ourselves, what's important as a human being. It's a very confusing process, and there's so much that we don't know. So we rely on others as our source of authority. And we get so used to falling back on other sources of authority. But the thing is that they don't always, maybe a lot of the time, they don't have your best interest in mind. How could they? They're somebody else. Only you can truly have your best interest in mind, because only you knows what's best for you. So we burden ourselves with this weight of trying to fulfill what others say is right. And we feel burnt out and we're exhausted because we're not actually feeding our own passions. If we did, we would take off like a rocket. We would leave some people behind. And that we're afraid of. We would leave the fear behind as well. And that we're afraid of because, again, we believe that this protects us. But in truth, you may be listening to people who also hold fear at the heart of them. They also might be making decisions from fear. So who would you rather listen to? Someone else's fear? Your own fear? Or maybe your passions? Maybe that flash of inspiration? This world, this life, you never know where it's going to go, how long it's going to be, how long it's going to take. All you have right now is this moment. And imagine if you could just leap forward in this moment into a person who truly believes that they know what's right for them. So lastly, let's take a look at Flash. Any messages? Okay. Oh my. We'll take the Sun. Alright. The Sun and the Moon? Wow. Alright, so for Flash, we have the Eight of Swords, the Sun, and the Moon. Clearly, we all have trouble paying attention to our Flash insights, paying attention to those instinctual urges that are so inherent to who we are. We are so quick to cover them up with fear that we don't even know what they look like. We didn't even get a chance to see them before they're covered up with what ifs. So the advice here is simple. It's allow yourself these moments. Allow yourself the time and the space to shine. And if there are others around you who are not conducive to that, if there are things in your environment that are not conducive to allowing you to shine, then you need to change that. Either find a room somewhere where you can close the door and be yourself, or anything else you can think of to give yourself that freedom. Because it is a practice. Again, we have the habits card. It's actually going to be a practice of listening to this as well. Just as you've built a practice of listening to your fear, it will be a practice of listening to your divine inspiration. And on the topic of listening to your fear, it's time to develop a new relationship with your fear. It's tough because fear, even the word fear, it brings up this feeling of, I don't like it. Fear, I'm going to run away now. I don't want it. But fear is a reaction to something. It's an emotion, which is a response to a thought. If you can trace that path of fear to whatever brought it up in the first place, and you can look at it with clear eyes from beyond the veil of fear, look at fear from the outside in, then you can actually get some really interesting information about who you are and what's important to you. If you can stomach, if you can brave looking fear in the face, if you can take that blindfold off, knowing that this is better for you, and it's almost like taking a bitter medicine. This is better for you to know. Rip the Band-Aid off. Get it clean on the inside. Purge all of the stuff that's holding you back. That, in the long run, is much better for you. So I'm going to pull a couple animal spirit cards to see what kind of energies we can embody to help us believe in ourselves a bit more. What energies can we embody? Oh, here we go. There it is. See the big picture. That's what I was talking about with fear. See fear from the outside. Don't step in it. Step out of it. Get a bigger perspective. It can help to go into nature. That can be very grounding. But whatever you do to get a bigger perspective, be sure that you're not just engaging in escapism or avoidance. Make sure that you are willing to turn back around and look at the pain points in your life, because Spirit is saying that it's worth it. That this is what it's going to take to transform. To transform into having a deeper sense of self-worth. If you can believe that you have inherent worth, no matter what, that you have a right to the feelings and the passions that you hold inside, then no situation is too big. No situation is unsolvable. You believe that you can face anything, and so you can. So I hope that this collective message was helpful for you, and I really hope that we can all step more into this sense of self-belief, because it is so powerful, and we need power right now. Take care, everyone. Until next time.